Donald Trump has been causing a wild reaction in the market recently. When we got the news about Hillary's emails last week, yet again with FBI Director Comey's letter to Congress, everything tanked. Everything went down. So CNBC reports here, Wall Street's long-running view that Hillary Clinton would easily become the next president has been replaced by a new fear that Donald Trump could win. And it probably won't be a pretty picture for stocks if he does. Bond yields have moved lower, and so have stocks, as the markets have begun to react to the possibility of a Trump victory in the last several days. The S&P 500 Wednesday was off 13 points at the key support level of 2,097 and was down 1.3% for the week so far. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, why would the market react negatively? Typically, Republican presidents are beloved by the rich and by the financial markets. Well, that's true, but Trump is a different case. Now, as I've argued before, Hillary Clinton, this is the first election of my lifetime for sure, that the Democratic Party clearly represents a bigger establishment insider than the Republican Party and the Republican candidate. You definitely have an outsider in Donald Trump and an anti-establishment character in Donald Trump. Now, unfortunately, he's anti-establishment in all the wrong ways, but he is anti-establishment in that, the people want business as usual and they want the status quo, and they know they're more likely to get that with Hillary Clinton than with Donald Trump. So the market is saying, whoa. You want to talk about uncertainty. I've heard people make arguments about uncertainty in the marketplace, and it's just been sheer bullshit. But this is a specific time where when somebody brings up uncertainty, you could just see how that clearly makes sense with Donald Trump, because people go, what the fuck is this guy going to do if he wins? And I also love how silly it is that at this late date, they're like, maybe this guy's going to win. Yeah, no shit. I mean, I predicted only 3 contests into the Republican primary that it would be a minor miracle if Trump didn't win the primary, to be clear. But I said at the beginning of the general, too, oh, you think he has no shot? You're fucking clueless. You said all along he had no shot in the primary, and he won. And in fact, he was up in the polls the entire time, so the fact that you didn't see it is beyond ridiculous. Same thing here. I mean, he's been down in the polls, but he's making a late surge. He's making a late surge because of that email announcement, among many other things, and all of Hillary's scandals. Not saying Trump doesn't have scandals, he does, but they're both really disliked, so he's in this thing and he has a shot. So the same thing happened with the predictions for Brexit, where people were like, no, the Remain camp is going to win handily. And then that didn't happen. In fact, the opposite happened. The Leave camp won fairly handily. So, I mean, this is where we're at right now. But this may be one of very, very few instances where I think the establishment, if you will, actually has a point. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, come on, Kyle. Your whole thing is being anti-establishment, and your whole thing is that we got to overturn the system. Oh, for sure. But the ideas matter in terms of what you implement after you overturn the system. And in the case of Donald Trump, he overturns it and he doesn't know what he's doing. He's basically the equivalent of a monkey throwing his feces. So, again, you go, that's not fair. Well, here's why. And by the way, 370 economists have come out and said, anybody but Trump, anybody but Trump, anybody but Trump, anybody but Trump. 370! So here's why 370 economists are like, don't do it, and why, the financial markets are like, oh God. Here's why. Because Trump, during the campaign, said this, quote, I'm the king of debt. I'm great with debt. Nobody knows debt better than me. I've made a fortune by using debt, and if things don't work out, I renegotiate the debt. I mean, that's a smart thing, not a stupid thing. You go back and you say, hey, guess what? The economy crashed. I'm going to give you back half. So do you understand that? He's saying, I'm going to make a deal on U.S. debt, and I ain't going to pay it all back. Okay, if you admit that and acknowledge that and let that be known, we are talking worldwide financial crash. The dollar is the world reserve currency. Everything rests on the dollar being stable and solid and the word of the United States government being good. Donald Trump is saying, no, I'm going to come out there and say it's not stable, it's not solid, and our word is not good. That will be something the world has never seen. A crash and a downturn that quick. I mean, you're talking effects as bad as the Great Depression, maybe worse. So you have people, the experts, the economists, are like, oh no, he thinks the world economy is like one of his shitty businesses. Remember, he went bankrupt. He went through business bankruptcy 6 times. Now, what did he do when that was the case? Well, it's the old trick. It's actually, to be fair, it's the same as the Mitt Romney trick with Bain Capital. Now, Mitt Romney was smart enough to know you can't do this with the country. But the idea is, okay, file for bankruptcy, fuck over everybody, all the workers, and then I run out the back door with all the money. Because liability is limited, in my case. So he views the world economy in that same way. And that's not... You can't do that. And the thing about Trump is he just might be arrogant enough to say, no, I know what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do. Believe me. We got to start fresh, and this is the best way to start fresh. Declare the U.S. insolvent, make a deal, and then move along here. No, don't do that. Don't do that. And actually, you could go one of 2 ways, to be fair to Donald Trump. Either you have Donald Trump ends up being, if he's elected, the most establishment president ever. Because, you know, he has a track record of the last person in the room, whatever that person says to him, all right, let's do that. Because he's a fool. And that was actually the same thing for George W. Bush in many respects, too. Cheney was the last one in the room, famously. He was like, I got an idea. I'll be your VP. Bush was like, all right, Dick, I like that. You got my Legos laying around here? So with Trump, it's a similar thing. Now, he's surrounded himself with a lot of scary people on foreign policy. John Bolton, the world's worst neocon, maybe even worse than Dick Cheney. So he surrounded himself with ultra-uber establishment people who would also be really bad for the economy. Either he's totally establishment or totally anti-establishment and an arrogant strongman, and he says, no, I'm going to override all of it and do what I want, and then he crashes the economy that way. Either way, it's not good. Either way, you're going in a crazy far-right Republican/neocon direction, or you're going in Trump's backwards mind that hasn't thought this stuff through and doesn't know anything about it direction. So that's why you have the markets going, whoa, not Trump. Now, again, I have argued, and I still argue to this day, what happens in the marketplace is not a great reflection of the overall economic well-being for your average Joe in the country. So there's a difference there. There's a disconnect. The market is not, when you look at the stock market, it's not an overall reflection of regular people. But when we're talking about decisions that could be that disastrous where you have a crash, then it affects everybody. And that's not something that should be an option. But with Donald Trump, there's that uncertainty in the market that's a real uncertainty where people are going, shit, fuck, even Hillary over this guy. So we'll see what happens, but we are already seeing the signs. Whenever Trump might be leading, boom, market goes down. And in this case, it's for a good reason.